Alright, let's talk about one of my favorite subjects because it's New Year's and I'm fucked and it's time to talk about something that I genuinely care about and have strong feelings towards, but I've never actually managed to put into words. So this might be really long-winded and rambly because I really struggle to put this into cohesive words. Um, and that is the internet and identity. What is identity? How does it work? How is it relevant in our current era of the prevalence of the internet? And just generally, like, what is it? What's the point? How does it work? Let's deconstruct it. Let's take it down, right? So, I should mention that I'm going to be critical of the entire idea of identity here. And a lot of my arguments are based off of the essay Welcome to the Wired, or something like that. I forgot what it's called, by Nix, which, if you know me, I'm constantly talking about. I'll link it in the description. Introduction to Cyber Nihilism. And I'm going to be talking about Serial Experiments Lane because it's fucking genius and talks about this like very well. I think a lot of people miss the point of Lane. So see, I'll just talk about that now, right? A lot of people seem to think that the point of Lane is to show that you can be a different person on the internet, right? That there is like a different you that exists on the internet, and there's the meat space you, and then there's the wired you, right? But I think that that's actually missing the point of Lane, and like completely glossing over one of the very important scenes, which is when she goes and meets the people she thinks are the knights, but they're not actually the knights, they're just the men in black, and then she transforms into Lane of the Wired, and then there's a bunch of shit reveals and stuff happens. Good scene. See, the point of Lane is not to show that there is literally a separate you in the Wired. The point is that there is no separate you in the Wired, because there is no you in the first place. Like, identity, because of the internet, has become so flexible and malleable that the whole idea of separating your wired self from your real self is just bullshit. It just doesn't exist. It's just fake and an oversimplification. This is literally the entire point of Lane, is to say what happens when the internet and the real world join into one thing, and right, there is no separation between them. That's the whole idea of Protocol 7. If you have paid attention during the show, you goddamn idiots, you would know this. So hold on, I'm gonna set this to loop because I bet I run out of time. Oops, that was not the right button. Fuck. Oh no. Oh no. Go away. I fucked up. I've just completely fucked it, haven't I? Oh god, what's happened? Wow. Literally everything that could go wrong went wrong. There we go. We're back. We're back to my pretty shaky cam video of Lane. There she is. So yeah, essentially, when you're on the internet, that you can basically take two approaches. You can either sort of, like, when your identity is questioned, because by the very act of existing online, your identity comes into question, right? Because you're suddenly free to decide who you are, like, in the eyes of other people. And in real life, you have no control over how other people see you. You're just you. I mean, you have some control, but like comparatively very little. You can control some things about your appearance and some things about the way you talk, but you can't, like, really, at the base of it, you can't control how you appear in other people's eyes. Whereas on the internet, you can do much more to that effect. And so when your identity is challenged like this, you're forced to confront your own identity as soon as you participate in the internet. There's basically two options. You either completely abandon identity or you double down on it, right? Now, my personal opinion is that abandoning identity is the best option. However, it's not literally, but it's very difficult to do a creative career on the internet like I'm trying to do without having a very strong sense of identity. So I kind of have separated my sort of no thank you self from my sort of the rest of the wired self that I use, like I'm trying to separate them more. For a while, I was like, I should join them together so that people who know me know that I'm also this person. But now I'm starting to think that was a bad idea, and I'm keeping them separate. You know, I never made them fuse them that much, but yeah. So you're basically confronted with this choice where you can either double down on your identity or just completely abandon it. Now the sort of, I feel like most people just really struggle to abandon their identity. Like they just it, I should clarify that identity doesn't mean individuality, right? Whether or not you identify as anything, you're still the creative nothing. You're still the unique one. But you can't change that. That's the center of consciousness. You're still an individual no matter what. Identity is just a sort of lens that you put over it so that people can see it, so that people can interpret it. But it's really just a sort of poor replacement for the creative nothing, because the creative nothing is nothing, right? There's from our perception, there's nothing there. So to place over just a raw consciousness, you have to sort of put it in a little box and get a little lens on it to focus properly, so you can just sort of understand it and simplify it down to other people's eyes. But once we're out of these human bodies, or on the internet, for example, there's not really any need to have it. You can just sort of bypass it completely. But when you've lived with identity for your entire life, and you've sort of spent so long curating your identity, it's fucking terrifying to suddenly have that stripped away from you. So the natural instinct is to double down on it, right? To strengthen your identity. Even on anonymous image boards like 4chan, for example, what started as a place where the whole point was a lack of identity, like individual identity, what's happened instead is it's just been replaced with a sort of group identity of, well, look, we're all on 4chan, we all behave this way and we all have these beliefs, right? Which is essentially how it's become. I mean, there's a lot of arguing and infighting, but you go on 4chan, you're going to see mostly right-wing opinions. You're going to see, a lot of edge posting, a lot of Japanese culture, although that was there from the beginning, because 4chan was always about Japanese culture, but you know what I'm saying, right? There's these similarities that just go beyond just a mutual interest, and go into like a sort of identity, despite the fact that it's not actually like hard designed into the website that you have to have an identity. Something like Twitter, for example, you can't use Twitter without having an account. You can't use it anonymously, but you can use it pseudonymously. So rather than encouraging you to dispose of your identity, encourages you to create your own identity, right? Which again often causes people to double down. And when you double down on something, when you like really go and try and take a close look at your identity, you end up sort of synthesizing it and focusing it down and distilling it into something very simple, which is why when you look at a lot of people's Twitter bios, they just have like a list of adjectives that they are. Like, this is me. So when you look at this, you can just completely understand who I am. Firstly, I'm the sort of person that... What the fuck is going on? I'm getting a call. This never happens. Terribly sorry about that. What was I talking about? So the sort of idea that you can just synthesize your identity, distill your identity down to like such a basic thing as like, here's my exact political belief structure that I believe in, like Marxist-Leninist, 24 years old, he, him pronouns, and then they'll probably have something quirky at the end, like God of the Underworld, and then something like like someone else's at, and it'll be like the heart symbols, something like really basic like that, and then that's them. Like, as far as they are on Twitter, that is who they represent, that is who they are. And the reason for this is because all of these websites, they reframe the individual as something that is to be marketed, because the companies, the individual is their product, right? If you're using something for free, you are the product. That's pretty well known at this point. Hey, it's that image, one of the best shots in Lane. But yeah, but just by the nature of the fact that these companies see you as a product, they inherently, your interaction with their site is a sort of interaction of a product with the people producing it. So you market yourself, because the more you market yourself, the more money Twitter makes. So they encourage it. So the way to market something is to be able to quote Kanye West, if you can if you can communicate the product, you can sell it. Something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but if you can communicate the product, you can then market that product much easier. That's literally the entire point. All you need to do is to be able to communicate the product, and then you can sell it. So if you can communicate yourself in the simplest way possible, you can sell yourself, meaning you can gain followers, you can gain likes, you can gain whatever, right? So the entire interaction is based on marketing yourself as if you're a product. And the best way to do that is to simplify your personality and distill it and focus it into something that's easily, someone can easily recognize if you're in group or out group. So in this way, there are a lot of websites on the current internet, the surface web, the meta meat space, whatever you want to call it. They encourage this sort of distillation of identity on the internet, rather than the what is probably ideal, which is the abandonment of identity as a sort of flawed concept, right? So there you go. There's some of my thoughts on identity. Just a couple of thoughts. I could probably talk for hours about this shit, but I'll leave the rest to you to figure out.